Okay, we'll get this meeting started. Welcome to the workshop of this adjourned meeting of the City Council officially. And as far as roll call, everybody's here. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the City Council this time regarding the workshop or mid-year budget review, excuse me? I don't see anybody. So we're gonna go right down to the workshop, which is the mid-year budget review. And I'm gonna hand it over to staff. Staff, it's all yours.
And members of the audience, I'm here tonight, to present our mid-year budget review for fiscal year 2025-26. So first, we're going to start with the summary of recommended changes to the fiscal year 2025-26 general fund appropriations budget. Total amount of requests for $2,149,389. And with fund transfers from different accounts and the little bit of revenue increase that we're having, we whittled that down to $264,637,000. So we'll discuss the changes for each department. City Council and City Manager had no changes. For administrative services, personnel risk management, psychological assistance, the appropriations current budget is $12,000. Currently, they've used $10,682. A request of $5,000 was requested and $5,000 was approved. For personnel risk management medical examinations, $25,000 is the budget. $31,792 has been appropriated so far. $12,000 was requested, $12,000 was accepted. For central services, publication and advertising, $30,500 was budgeted. So far, they've expensed $35,085. $5,000 was requested, $5,000 was approved. There were no changes for human services. For the police department, support services overtime, they requested $8,000 in overtime. Their original budget was $1,500. They've currently used $6,919. $8,000 was requested, $6,500 was approved. We are transferring that from support services part-time wages, so there will be no impact to the general fund. Technical services overtime, their current budget is $2,000. They've had expenditures of $6,054. $8,000 was requested, $6,000 was approved. We are transferring that amount from technical services part-time wages, so there will be no effect on the general fund. Records overtime, budget is $7,000. The expenditures so far are $50,077. $90,000 was requested, $70,000 was approved, and we are transferring those funds from 4 different accounts, so there will be a zero impact to the general fund. Investigations overtime. Current appropriations budget $50,000. Actual expenditures at mid-year $145,990. The requested amount was $240,000. The recommended increase is $180,000, and we are moving those funds from investigations, special investigations, and citywide personnel savings distribution. Uniform patrol overtime. Current budget is $168,500, spent so far this year, $449,257. $700,000 was requested, $500,000 was approved, and we're transferring that from several accounts in the police department, so there will be a zero effect to the general fund. Communications overtime, $20,000 is the current budget. $133,823 is their expenditures so far this year. The request was for an additional $250,000. The approved amount is $213,000, and that amount is being transferred from 4 different accounts, so there will be a zero net effect to the general fund. So for the police department, there is no effect to the general fund. For the fire department, emergency services overtime, the current budget is $400,000. The actual expenditures are $451,332. $375,000 was requested, $325,000 was approved. We did transfers from several other accounts and found all but $24,250, so that will be the effect to the general fund. The Public Works Department, street maintenance overtime. Current appropriations budget is $40,000. The actual expenditures are $26,640. $5,000 increase was requested, $5,000 request was approved, and we're transferring that from street maintenance regular earnings, so there will be no effect to the general fund. Street maintenance rent equipment, $2,000 was budgeted, $3,232 has been expended so far this year. $2,482 was requested and approved, and we are transferring that from street maintenance regular earnings, so no impact on the general fund. Signing and painting overtime, $10,000 was budgeted, $11,267 has been spent so far this year. $7,800 was requested and approved, and that will be transferred from street maintenance regular earnings, so no effect to the general fund. Sweeping overtime, $1,000 was budgeted, $2,493 spent so far this year. $3,700 was requested, $3,000 was approved, and that will be transferred from street maintenance regular earnings with no effect to the general fund. Park maintenance overtime, $15,000 was budgeted, $11,738 has been expended so far this year. $6,000 was requested and approved, and that will be transferred from park maintenance regular earnings. Irrigation maintenance overtime, $4,000 was budgeted, $7,277 has been expended so far this year. $7,000 was requested, $6,000 was approved, and that amount will be transferred from irrigation maintenance regular earnings. Vehicle maintenance, oil, and lubricants, $5,000 was budgeted, $5,000 has been used, $1,800 requested and approved. Vehicle maintenance, transportation work equipment, $24,875 was budgeted, $30,860 has been spent, $5,985 was requested and approved, and that was due to the fact that the forklift they purchased was more expensive when they went to purchases than after the budget was prepared. Sewer maintenance, license permit certificates, $4,500 was budgeted, $19,268 has been spent, $18,186 was requested and approved. This is sewer fund costs, and this was transferred from other accounts, so there will be no effect on the sewer fund. Building maintenance overtime, $12,000 budgeted, $8,987 spent, $2,700 requested and approved, and those funds will be transferred from building maintenance, sick leave redemption, and materials buildings. Building maintenance, other equipment. Current appropriations budget is $39,000. The actual expenditures, $22,649. $12,000 was requested. $10,000 is approved, with those funds being transferred from 3 other accounts. Heating and air conditioning, materials, miscellaneous maintenance and repair, $45,595 was budgeted. $44,082 has been expended. $19,432 was requested and approved, and all but $698 of that will be transferred from other funds, other accounts. Janitorial services overtime, $1,000 was budgeted, $7,290. The expenditures up to this point, $22,490 requested and approved. $10,000 will be transferred from janitorial services regular earnings, leaving a balance of $12,490. So the total effect to the general fund for public works is $20,973. Community development, code enforcement special ops overtime, budgeted was $8,000. The expenditures so far this year, $8,514. $5,000 was requested and approved, and that will be transferred from Code Enforcement Special Ops sick leave redemption, so there will be no effect to the general fund for community development. There were no changes to Economic Development Department. City Attorney, Legal Services, Court costs, $165,000 was budgeted. $107,984 has been spent so far this year. $30,000 was requested and approved. Citywide unemployment insurance, $10,000 was budgeted. $28,617 has been spent so far this year. $25,000 requested and $25,000 approved. The general liability claims, $250,000 budgeted, $480,645 expended so far this year, $300,000 requested and approved. We are transferring $157,586 from general city insurance, making the total $167,414 for citywide that will affect the general fund. So here's our statement of general fund expenditures for the 6-month period ending December 31st, 2025. So most departments are doing pretty well. Some are under the 50%, some are a little over, but overall not too bad. Overtime seems to have been our highest expenses that we needed to adjust for at mid-year. So the total for the entire city is, we're at 59% as of December 31st. And these are actually for expenses paid through January 21st, because some of the December invoices that were incurred in December are paid in January. And now we'll talk about our general fund revenue detail. So for our general fund taxes, we had some minor increases and some minor decreases. So for taxes, increase of $215,155 is what we believe will happen, our estimate for the year. Licenses and permits, $10,000 increase in construction permits. Intergovernmental revenues, we had $8,123 in motor vehicle in lieu tax increase and $7,392 for SB 90 claim reimbursement, for a total of $15,515 for intergovernmental revenues. For fines and forfeitures, we saw a reduction in parking citations of $30,000, some minor increases in 3 other accounts for a negative of $11,000 in fines and forfeitures. Charges for services, we saw a minor increase of $2,500 in human services classes. In miscellaneous revenue, our largest increase was interest income of $100,000, with a total of $122,400 for miscellaneous revenue. So overall, for the general fund, we're anticipating $354,570 in revenue. So this is the fiscal year 2025-26 mid-year review general operating fund analysis. So we're anticipating an increase of $354,570 in revenue. The expenditure increase after we made all those transfers from all those different accounts is $264,637, which leaves us a mid-year excess of only $89,933. So revising the city's appropriations budget increases the spending authority by $264,637 in the general operating fund. Revising the city's estimated revenue budget has a total positive impact to the general operating fund of $354,570. Approval of both the appropriations and estimated revenue budgets would have a positive budgetary impact to the general operating fund of $89,933. Staff recommends the City Council consider the city's mid-year budget review documents and approve proposed changes to the fiscal year 2025-26 budget. And I will answer any questions you might have.
Okay, we'll start with Councilmember Mendez.
Yeah, I was going through all the mid-year budget reviews, and just a few questions. First, on the presentation that you did, very nice, thank you. Just wondering if we could add another line at the beginning, like requested, because it's not showing like what, like, let's say page 8. It doesn't show what the, say, police department requested for that budget for the overtime, because then all of a sudden now we're asking to increase it by quite a bit. So I'm assuming that Jason probably requests more overtime at the time of doing the budget. So just, that way it doesn't look like, we don't know what we're budgeting for. I feel like, I'm sure you asked for much more than $50,000 in your overtime budget. And if we had a line that said what we actually requested, and then what we were given, and then what we're requesting at mid-year budget, it would probably, we wouldn't be asking for as much. I'm just assuming that. Also, I noticed, I didn't see the sewer fund listed under expenditures and in the general fund, but on page, I think 22, it mentioned sewer fund, but it didn't show anything about like the sewer fund, where it is, how much is in that budget. And
Typically, we just concentrate on the general fund when we do this.
yeah,
It's rare for a different fund to have funding requested, additional funding. So that's why we basically just focus on the general fund. And that was something that just didn't get budgeted,
yeah,
a license that didn't get budgeted, so that's why we had to increase it there. And we need approval for that.
okay. And then also sick leave redemption. I see that a lot of this money is coming from the sick leave redemption fund. I don't remember this fund. So how much money is in this fund?
Well, the sick leave redemption, when I prepare the budget each year,
Yeah.
there's a report that we print that we can generate out of Spring Brick that shows, it shows each employee and what their balance, what they would get for sick leave redemption.
Yeah,
So that's how I budget.
okay.
But during the year, people leave. Some people might say, I don't want sick leave redemption.
Yeah.
They might change departments or change programs. And so sometimes there's extra left over.
Okay, so basically just every year you calculate how many employees, and knowing that if they didn't take any sick time, they would be able to cash in half of that
Right.
at the end of the year if they wanted to, and that's where you put all, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense to have that there. Parking citations, under general fund, I guess we took a loss. I guess we're not doing as much as we normally would, I guess.
Correct.
Were we hiring officers or something to do tickets? I thought we were doing that a while ago.
Cadets do it. Cadets do the parking enforcement.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, I thought we were gonna be hiring some people to do parking enforcement because of some of the other areas that we were putting in, no parking, and like the area in the TOD.
Yes, we've talked about a parking enforcement program that would hire new individuals specifically to do that. But the chief and I, in conversation, have decided at this point in time, we want to just leave it with cadets.
Okay, all right, so that's why. Nutritional meals. We spent 1,344% of our budget. It seems like quite a bit. I just thought it was kind of interesting to see that, and maybe how that happens. It's on page 11. Oh, it's not on that. I'm sorry. It's in the one
18.
that was given to us.
Yeah, go-
Sorry.
yeah, I'll let Marcia answer that question.
So my thought is that it could be that new agreements were in between when she was doing this, but we did receive, it's funding from the county that we received for the nutritional
Yeah.
meals. This could also be a portion of our match that we put in. I am not sure whether that might be an error, or it could be that the 1344 is, like I said, that the new agreements that were put in weren't added in there yet.
Okay. So, well, just to make you aware of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, once you get us, we have an answer, email us the answer. How's that sound?
Yes.
It could also possibly be if we didn't have any personnel budgeted there and that switched, changed maybe now you're paying staff out of that account?
No, it's pretty much grant funded.
We'll look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also, same thing with the, on page 12 of the other sheets, under Community Development Fire Prevention Bureau, shows that we paid $16,996.
Yeah, that is because, that I can answer, that is because we have an expense account and we have a reimbursable expense account.
Oh,
So we're we're paying out money for expenses, but then we're taking in money to offset those expenses. So that's why it looks that way.
okay. And then just, Jason, I'm not trying to pick on you, but I know the overtime request. I thought after we were almost fully staffed, and when usually you're fully staffed, you have usually less overtime. But can you just explain a little bit how it gets so high if we're almost fully staffed? I know we're not fully staffed right this second.
Yes, I can answer.
Page
Which
17.
Which overtime are you speaking of? Are you speaking of overtime for dispatch, for records? or for
Uniform patrol.
Uniform patrol?
That's.
Well,
seems to
any
be-
overtime shift that we have on patrol is because there's a vacancy that has to be filled. We had several vacancies in the past, but we filled some of those vacancies, but those are now special assignments that we didn't have before. So when we filled our special assignments, i.e. finally got our 5th detective, we started the SET team, we put 2 people on narcotics enforcement's team, and those other, things like that. That doesn't mean that we increased the number of patrol officers that work. So the number of patrol officers is still running at, what we consider at or above, slightly above our minimum standard, our minimum deployment level. We also now have 2 SRO officers that work, school resource officers, that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
So whenever we post a shift overtime, it's because there is someone that either called in sick or is in training, and we have to fill a seat with that position.
Okay.
When someone calls in, that position has to be filled, whether it's unplanned or whether they're in training or whether someone's on vacation. Someone has to come in to work overtime to fill that patrol shift. Also factored into that overtime is our community events. When we work a community event, the officers they have to come in and working on overtime when we work those events as well. Some of that overtime expenditure is from that, but that with training and a couple openings on shifts, that's where that overtime has come from. There is some overtime incurred from completing reports at the end of shifts and completing paperwork. Sometimes an officer will get a call where they have something at half hour before the end of their shift, and they have to stay several hours after to do that. Also encumbered in that is with these special assignments comes special events and more arrests and more paperwork, SWAT training and things like that. So there's some factors incurred in that as well. We're working on monitoring that and an attempt to reduce some of that overtime, but that overtime is to fill, the bulk majority is to fill vacancies that occur on shifts. We send people to training all the time. If we get a new officer, there's a multitude of courses they have to go to, DUI training, all sorts of training. Whenever we hire somebody new, when that person is not at work, then someone has to work their shift. We're hoping that will be reduced now that we're, within a couple positions of being fully staffed.
And I guess that's why I feel like there should be that extra line item showing what you requested as
It
far
is
as budgeting.
It's right there.
Where?
Requested increase, decrease. So under,
No, I'm talking about at the beginning of the budget year, what they actually request, and then what's approved is just showing current appropriations
Well-
budget. I know, it
Well-
would show better, it would look like you know that you need $250,000 minimum, but we're only giving you $50,000 or something. And I just feel like, I know that you're requesting probably more than what you're getting in overtime usually.
Some of those things are just hard to decipher during budget time. We have to take an educated not a guess, but an educated past years of what we've utilized. But like for example, our investigations team, we never know if they could have a slow year or a heavier year for that. So we take the best position at the beginning of the year, and we know that at mid-year we can make adjustments to try to cover those, because it is unpredictable. It's not something we can predict with overtime
Yeah,
on that.
no, I understand that. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the explanation. And then, most of the other things I had were just also just about overtime, and it just seems like, the amounts that people are being given at the budget year to keep the budget, to where it's good, I guess I feel like maybe we should be more realistic, I think, like, what these budgets are, because we kind of know what they are going to be almost every single year, and it seems like we always come back to mid-year budget, and that's where our big dollars are. But that's all I have. But I appreciate everybody's information.
Okay, Councilmember Lopez.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the presentation on the screen, page 4, under Administrative Services. The justification line reads, with the increase in the hiring of new employees, this account requires additional funds to cover expenses for the remainder of the fiscal year. How many and what new hires are you referring to?
Well, it's referring to hiring people to replace people who've left the organization for the most part.
And I know we've approved those, and we made some recent changes with the departments, like like HR. How many others in those departments have we had to do that? I know HR was one.
I'm sorry,
I'm-
I don't understand your
I just want to
question.
know who the new hires were, how many we had.
Okay, well, that's beyond our scope to give you right now. I don't have those lists available. You're asking me to give you the names of everybody we've hired in the organization over the last year?
At least within the, maybe not the names, but what positions did we have to fill? I know that Human Services was one. but
Well,
there were
we
other
fill positions in every department. We've hired a number of police officers, we've hired a number of firefighters to replace
Oh, no,
people who leave.
only in Administrative Services I'm talking about. Only in Administrative Services.
Well, this is for the whole city, not just admin services.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where I got confused. I thought
Yeah.
you were only talking about Administrative
Oh,
Services.
no,
I was
no.
thinking, okay, I thought we just hired
Okay,
one. but beyond
understand your
that-
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Human Resources budgets for different things for the entire organization, like medical examinations, psychological services, recruitments. Those aren't budgeted separately by the departments, they're all budgeted in HR.
And that is a part of Administrative Services.
Yes.
That's what I was getting at. And that's the only recent one we had, right?
The only,
Recent filling of a position.
no. HR is a part of administrative services.
Right.
And in HR, there are a number of functions that the HR department is responsible for in relation to hiring new individuals. You have to recruit for them. There's publication issues related to that. There are testing requirements related to that. We have to hire or purchase tests from testing companies. When people are on board, we have to conduct the interviews. And then when they're hired, we have to do background investigations on them. We have to put them through background medicals. We have to do, in the case of public safety, the psychological component. All of these are budgeted in HR, which is a part of administrative services. They're not budgeted through the individual departments. So the request here for the additional $5,000 is to cover additional recruitments and psychological backgrounds on individuals that will be hired through public safety because it's HR's responsibility to cover those costs.
And here's where perhaps I got confused. One, I was only looking at Administrative Services. I was not talking about police hires or parks and sewer or street, whatnot. I guess I was only looking at the department heads or those that were higher tiered within Administrative Services. The way I read this was, we had several hires in that particular standing in the hierarchy, if you will. I knew we had to hire in HR, which we did. And I think you answered my question, because my subsequent question was going to be, can you please give me the example of those expenses? You just did. You addressed that. I was confused with respect to, are there any other in the structure of Administrative Services that I was missing? But I appreciate you clarifying that, and I appreciate you mentioning HR, because I knew beyond that, I was wondering who else did we, what other department did we hire, and which case would impact this particular request for money.
Right.
Fair?
Right, so the way to look at it is all of the departments budget for their own needs, except in the case of administrative services, which budgets for all of the organization, and except for citywide, which also budgets for the entire organization.
Now, let's go to page 10. The request for signing and painting, does that include graffiti abatement demands?
No, it does not.
So was there any, with respect to graffiti abatement, because I know we got to pay for paint and it's not cheap, was that line allocation for that
There's
particular
a-
purpose affected?
There's a program called graffiti abatement within the Public Works Department, and that program budgets for all of its needs and services
For the whole year?
for the whole year,
And
yes.
as of right now, they're good, they don't need any more?
Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then on page 12, in the justification for Public Works continued program 4669-511150, you state, the State Water Resources Control Board annual permit was inadvertently not included in this year's budget. What was the amount of that permit?
18,186, exactly what the increase was requested.
Okay. And that's coming out of general, no, that's coming out of
Sewer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different accounts.
Right, and it's all sewer maintenance, so
Okay.
it's not, won't affect the general fund.
Okay. With that, Mr. Mayor, I believe that answers all my questions.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? No? Go ahead.
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation and the resourcefulness and allocating monies from other accounts.
Yeah, it took us a while. Several hours we were going over all of these to see where we could pull funds from to make up the difference.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
just a general question to the city manager. I apologize. I did write this down and I overlooked it. Since we're talking the budget, and I believe in the tax line or the anticipated tax revenues, and I appreciate staff changing the screens for us because I can't, with my eyes, I can't quite find the right page for this. Where, is it page 20? I appreciate you telling me that real quickly. Yeah, total taxes, we're anticipating 215,000. Is the report out on the final quarter of 2025, particularly that Christmas season? Do we have an update or figures on how well or how poorly the overall anticipation of what the shopping season did to help our city budget?
Yeah, no, it has not been provided to us at this point. We're not anticipating that it's going to be a significant improvement over the previous year. The projection for next year is at most a 1.5% gain, but I'm probably going to be revising that based on the current conditions in the Middle East. If this is a prolonged war and there's a serious impact on the availability of oil supplies, that is going to affect every aspect of consumer purchase habits, as well as the overall general economy. The city managers monthly will be discussing issues related to an economic report for the Inland Empire that was recently presented. And that report indicates that logistics and warehousing in the region is taking a significant decline. Job losses in both warehousing is also in the education and hospital arena, which have been the bulk of economic improvements in the Inland Empire over the last several years. They are taking significant losses in personnel, primarily due to the fact that there has been a significant cutback in federal funding in the current administration's economic policies as it relates to those categories. Housing continues to be in a decline, particularly in relation to construction, and affordability is becoming even more and more a remote concept as it relates to trying to get some product out on the market that is affordable. And I even have to say, the fact that the decision to defund the Gold Line is a very short-sighted decision because of the fact that entire North Montclair was based on the idea of having transit available to upwardly mobile professionals who would move out to this area even though they were living in or working in the coastal counties. And that decision has undermined that process. And the reason why that is important is that one of the great imbalances in San Bernardino County is wages and the lack of high-paying jobs. And what the county does have is people who move out here to live in houses that are more affordable, even though they're still working in the coastal communities. And part of our effort was to try and capture that. But in not capturing that, you're not bringing these people out here into San Bernardino County who have these higher paying jobs. And the reason why you want to do that is that if you have a population that has higher paying jobs and higher levels of education, then those higher paying jobs are ultimately going to migrate out to this area because it makes it more convenient for those individuals and because you have that pool of talent that is out here. Decisions like this undermine that effort as well as the general economy conditions that we are experiencing right now. So I'm not projecting that 2026-27 is going to be a significant improvement over the current fiscal year.
Ed, just a question. You mentioned earlier, you originally projecting a 1.5 increase in sales tax?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
1.5%, right?
1.5%.
Yeah, okay. No, I really appreciate your impromptu, detailed explanation to the question. I was curious as to how well we did. Hopefully those will come in, what, April or May, those figures?
I believe we should have some numbers next month,
Okay.
yes.
No, I'm looking forward to those, and as soon as that report comes, I would absolutely love to see it myself. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you to
You're welcome.
your staff, Janet, for all your time and effort putting into this, and to all the department heads taking care of their respective budgets and submitting them to staff and then to us. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Bill Rue.
Thank you, Mr. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first of all want to thank the staff who put this together. I appreciate it. It's in a clear and relatively understandable form, so that's good. In regard to retail, I think we're seeing every year more and more people shopping online. Every time I, during the holiday season, read an article, it's about how many people are shopping online, and it's increasing every year. At some point, we're going to have to deal with this at a state level. Years ago, and there are people out in the audience who may remember the days we ordered from the Montgomery Ward and Sears and J.C. Penney catalogs and other catalogs. You looked up your zip code, and it told you how much sales tax to add in. You added that and computed it into the form, and the city would get that sales tax. Well, that's not true with the internet. And we need to really talk to our legislators, because this is going to harm communities if we are not able to capture that sales tax money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question on the citywide, general liability claims, which is the last one. Or not, the last one as far as expenditures. Got it there? Looks like it. The actuals are 480,000. So what liability has gone up a lot that we got to cover?
Workers' compensation claims against the
Okay.
city, lawsuits against the city.
Okay,
As you know, there have been quite a few this year, and worker comp claims are something we can never control. It just depends on the number of employees on an annual basis that injure themselves while on duty.
okay, I understand now.
And we have to pay a formula set by the state, and there is no flexibility or adjustment related to those formulas.
Okay,
I also want to make a correction that when I was answering Councilmember Lopez's question about how the budgets are aligned, and I said that administration was the only one that, and citywide were the only ones that budgeted for the entire organization. Information technology also budgets for the entire organization, and the city manager's department, obviously, in relation to its interactions with the various aspects of organizational operations, does as well.
Okay, thank you. And I also have I did have questions on the revenue side, but you've already answered my questions. And so we will get together in the second half of June to review a budget for next year. And I assume that we'll have our budget book sometime in the middle part of June. Usually, second week of June, I think it's around there. And then we'll get
Yes.
together. I'm going to be out of town on the third week of June. So I think we're shooting for the last week of June for a budget workshop. And I think the last Monday of June, there's 5 Mondays in June, we'll make that a backup meeting, a second meeting, just in case it's needed. So not sure if Andrea, if we got the schedules yet for the city council yet, or we'll put it out to the city council through an email and get those scheduled. So other than that, we just need to get a motion. We have a recommendation from staff. The recommendation is to adjust the appropriations budget by almost $265,000. To appropriate the general funds, operating funds of $355,000. So can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for staff recommendation.
Okay,
Second?
we got a second, and we'll do electronic vote real fast. Councilmember Lopez, and so we will do electronic vote. That's adopted. And other than that, I don't think we have anything else to do. So we will see each other at 7 p.m., if not earlier.